Okay, so we are ready for our next design. This one's pretty cool. It's going to be a cowbell, and you can see it's actually a functioning cowbell with a handle and a chime underneath. The chime is hanging from a hook. If we were to manufacture this, would actually work. So it's a pretty cool design. All right, so I'm starting with a new canvas. If you open up Fusion 360, you should get that automatically. I'm going to go ahead and close my data panel so that I have more room. And I'm going to start off by saving. So always do this, save your work, and I'm going to call this Cowbell. Save. All right. And you can see that the parent menu up here has started with the word Cowbell. And I'm also going to change my document settings, and I'm going to go from units of millimeters to inches. So hover over millimeters, click on the edit button, and choose inches. Okay. And I'll close that back up. And then let's always start by creating a new component. So create new component. This is kind of a rule in Fusion 360. We want to make sure we're doing that. And we're going to just call this bell. Um, to be honest, this design is only going to have one component, but in the future, you'll certainly do assemblies with multiple components, and you always want to start with a new component. So go ahead and click OK. You'll see that it's added the bell as a new component, and we're ready to start designing. All right, so let's start with a new sketch. Okay, we want to choose the XY plane. All right, so kind of like the base plane. Click on that, and we're ready to start with a rectangle. So choose the rectangle tool. It by default is set to 2-point rectangle, which is kind of like corner to opposite corner. We're going to change that over here. Click on center rectangle. Okay, and then start at your origin. Click once, just move your mouse out, and we're going to go ahead and type the dimensions. Now, if you happen to do this and it started with this dimension, that's fine. But if it starts with the bottom dimension, we're going to type in 4.75. And of course, you hit the tab button to toggle back and forth. I hit tab to the other one, and I'm going to put 2.5 and then hit enter. Okay, so now I've got a 2.5 by 4 3/4 inch rectangle. Finish sketch. Don't forget to hit finish sketch. Now, if yours looks like this after you hit finish sketch, of course you can just hit the isometric home button and it'll turn it like that. So I'm gonna back up a little bit because I do want to be able to see what I'm doing. All right, so let's extrude this. Hit the extrude button, and I am going to go ahead and pull it up just a little bit. The first thing I want to do is I want to change it from a regular extrusion to a thin extrusion. Okay, so hit thin extrude, and what you're going to see is it actually cuts open the middle and does a thin wall extrusion all the way up. Okay, I'm going to change that wall thickness to 1/16 of an inch, and that decimal is 0.0625. Okay, so that'll be the wall thickness. And this tool is kind of cool too. If I pull it up, I can use this right here and change the taper outward or inward. This is a cowbell, so it's obviously going to be inward. I'm going to go ahead and taper it inward, but I'm going to change the degrees here. Instead of -25, I'm going to put -5. Okay, make sure it's negative. If you put positive, it's going to taper it outward. So -5, and then my distance is going to be 6 inches. Okay. So we're starting to look more like a cowbell frame here. And you want to verify that you are on new body. If it says join, make sure you change it to new body. And then everything else looks good here. So I've got a distance of 6, taper of -5 degrees, and a wall thickness of 0.0625, which is 1/16 of an inch. Okay, new body, click OK. You'll notice over here, if I go to my model browser and put the down arrow on the bell, you'll see bodies here. If I put that down arrow, you'll see it now says body 1. I'm going to go ahead and keep these named properly as I go. So right click on that, rename it, and we're going to just call it walls. Okay, this will help keep us very, very organized. All right, so let's continue. Let's create a new sketch. This time I'm going to scroll in so I can be nice and accurate here. I'm going to click on the top of this extrusion that I made. Okay, not the edges or anything like that. I want the top. Okay, and back up a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to go to my rectangle tool, and I want the outside corner to start with, not the inside, the outside corner right here. Click once and simply move to the opposite outside corner. Click again. Doesn't look like it's done much, but it has. It's created a rectangle exactly along that geometry. And I'm going to click Finish Sketch. Okay. And in my case, it did not go to isometric view. So I'm going to change that so that it does. Okay. Zoom in a little bit and let's extrude that. All right, so we need to actually extrude two selections here, two profiles. So we're going to click on first this top rim here, okay? But I also want to click on the inside here, all right? And what that's going to do is even though it's hollow underneath, it's going to extrude this upward as one solid plane, okay? So I can pull it upwards like this. I'm actually going to only extrude it up 0.0625. So that's the same wall thickness as the walls. Notice how it says join. We definitely want to change that. So let's change this to new body. We're not going to taper this and we're ready to hit OK. So click OK. All right, so let's put a fillet on a bunch of these edges. We want to put a fillet on all the edges except these. We don't want to fillet those. Okay, so go to your fillet tool. We're actually going to select 12 different edges here. So you can count as you go to make sure you get them, but let's get started. So 1, this little one here, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to turn this direction. You might have to zoom in or zoom out to really get where you want to be. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's turn again. 8, 9, 10. And we're almost done. And the last 2, 11, 12. All right, so now I've got all the edges all the way around except for these in here. And I'm going to change the fillet size to 0.05 of an inch. Okay. And you can see it makes a nice rounded edge. Click OK and go to your isometric view. All right. Let's see. You'll notice that because I've created a body before, it created body 2. I forgot to rename it. I'm going to go do that now. So right click on it and choose rename. And I'm going to call this top. Kind of one of the nice things about this is that you can toggle these views on and off. So if I want the walls to be gone, I can do that. They're not gone, they're just not visualized. If I want the top off there, I can do that. That's one of the nice features of having new bodies while you do this is you're able to get into places that you otherwise couldn't, for example, underneath the cowbell by just simply toggling things off and temporarily unvisualizing them. All right, so let's continue. Now we're going to use something new here. We're going to use a construction tool. And in this case, if you click on the construct menu and scroll down to axis perpendicular to face at a point, this is going to create a construction line that's going to help us do some further design work. So axis perpendicular to face at point. Go ahead and click on that. And it wants to know a face and a point to put an axis through. So we want the face to be right up here, this top face, okay? And you'll notice ever so faintly down here, we've got our little origin, okay? I can't really see it very well. If I really want to see it better, I can click here and make the origin visual. I'm going to actually go ahead and leave it like that because it's not getting in my way. So I'm going to leave it visual, and I need to click the origin point right here. And what that's going to do is it's going to create from that point and through this face, this nice construction line that'll help us when we actually design. So you can see it goes right through and kind of goes up through the top and down through the bottom. Click OK. All right, and go to isometric view. If the origin is bothering you and you don't want it there, you can always toggle it back off. Okay, but I'm going to leave it for now. All right, so I want to create a design up here that's going to become the handle. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. We are going to make another construction plane, okay, before we build anything. This was a construction axis. Now we're going to do a construction plane, and we're going to use both of them to build. All right, so go back to the construct menu. And what we're going to choose is a plane at angle. Okay, go ahead and select that. And we want to select this top plane. Okay, let's see, what's the best way to do this? Let's try this one here. Okay. So if we select that axis, that construction axis we made, you'll notice that at that axis it creates this imaginary plane here. Okay, I can change the degree of it if I want, like this, but for this purpose, I want it right at 0 degrees because I'm going to just type in 0 because I'm going to make a nice perpendicular handle here. All right, so this is how I want it. Click OK. You'll notice that I now have a construction menu down here. I've got my axis and I've got my plane. All right, we're actually going to use that, so I'm going to leave that open. And let's start building with what we just made. So create sketch, and we're going to choose that plane we just made. So just somewhere over here, click on that plane, and now we're kind of facing directly at it. So I want to zoom way into the front, way in towards the top, and I want to tip us just a little bit forward like that. Okay. Now, this gets a little tricky. I want to start right where that axis goes through and meets the plane. For me to do that, I really need to zoom way in. And you can see my grids are kind of changing as I zoom. I want to keep zooming until I get a bottom line on that grid. And it should be any time now. There it is. Okay. And I zoomed a lot to get to it, but now I have a bottom line here. So I'm going to go to my line tool and I'm going to click right where that bottom line meets my construction axis. Okay. So click once, move it to the side. Don't even worry about how far you move it. I'm going to slide it over, let go of my mouse, and I'm going to type in 1.5 inch and hit enter. Now we're zoomed way in, so we're going to have to zoom out again. Okay, and you can see it's made that little line there. So now let's use that line to continue our drawing. So back to the line tool, we're going to go from that end straight up 1 inch. So 1 enter. Okay, and then line tool again, I'm going to go this direction 1.5, or go to the construction axis, hit enter. Oop, I need to go 1.5. Okay, and then I'm going to go down. So make sure you're still on the line tool. We're going to go from this point straight down, and we're going to actually type this one in 0.0625, enter. And then we're going to put the new line again, click this direction, and we're going to type in 1.4375. So that's basically 1.5, 1.5 minus 0.0625 is 1.4375. Hit enter. Yes, this is very particular. Then we're going to go down. And in this case, we'll go down all the way to the bottom. Okay. And click. All right. So now we've got a complete polygon here. All right. So I'm going to erase a little bit here because now there's some things here that I don't need. So choose a trim tool. We're going to erase this bottom line, what's left of it. And we're going to zoom in and erase this line here. You'll see why in a second. So I no longer have a closed figure here, but I'm going to fix that. Instead of drawing this all over again on the right side, I'm actually going to use the mirror tool, and that's this tool right here. So go ahead. If it's not up there, click on the create menu and you'll see mirror right there. So make sure you select that tool. Now it wants to know what you want to mirror. All right, so I want to mirror all the lines I just drew. So just click them one at a time. 1, 2, don't forget this bottom one. 3, 4, 5. Okay, and now it wants to know what line you're going to mirror this off of. So go to mirror line. You have to hit select and choose that construction axis. Okay, mirror line. Why is it not letting me do that? That's weird. Let me go back to here. Maybe I have to turn this a little bit. Oh, wait a minute. What did I do wrong here? You know what I need to do? I need to go to the origin. All right, so that's That's another good reason to have that origin open. All right. It's not letting me take the axis line, construction line, but it will let me take this mirror line down here. Okay. So I need to be on mirror line. Wait, it's being really finicky. Let me try the origin again. Okay. It's letting me take this plane, and that works fine. Use this plane right here. All right. And so what you can see it's done is it's created a mirror image over on the other side. Now I have to make sure that I don't have a line here. I don't think I do, but I'm going to trim it just in case. I don't. Okay. So now I have a complete handle profile. When you're done, hit finish sketch, and you may have to wait a few seconds, then go ahead to isometric, and you can see I've got the outline of a handle. So now we're going to extrude that. Okay, so go ahead to extrude. It already pre-selects that. Instead of going one direction, we're going to actually change this to a two-sided direction. Okay, so come over here, change it to two sides. All right, and I'm also going to make sure it's on new body, which it is. And in each direction, I'm going to have it extrude 0.25, so a fourth of an inch. So change it to 0.25. Now you'll notice down here it added join. I don't want that. I'm going to make this new body. Yeah, new body, because I'm going to call this a handle. All right. And everything else looks good. So a distance of 0.25, click OK. And you'll notice that I now have another body over here that I need to rename. I'm going to rename that handle. Okay, so it's keeping me really organized. All right. So at this point, let's move on to some fillets for that handle. This is going to be a little difficult because you have to zoom way in and get all the edges. This time we're going to get 12 different edges. Okay, so go ahead and go to the fillet tool. We're going to select all our edges. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me turn this way and slide it over, pan it over, I should say. Turn it this way, pan a little bit more. All right, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and the last one is 14. All right, so I've got all those edges done, and I'm going to do a very small fillet of 0.025, not 0.25, that won't work, 0.025, and click OK. All right, so let's go back to isometric. I've got a nice kind of gentle handle to it. It's got those fillets to make it nice and smooth. So that works good. And let's go ahead over here, and because we're going to do some modeling on the bottom of the handle, let's go ahead and unvisualize the walls. Okay, that's going to allow us to see our work much better. Okay, and I'm also going to revisualize my plane that I made before. Okay, the axis is still visualized, which is fine, but I want the plane there as well. Okay, and we're going to start modeling on the bottom of this handle. So it's really kind of the handle and the top at the same time. All right, so we're going to model on the bottom of the top, I should say. All right, so let's create a sketch. And we are going to create that sketch on the bottom. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to do it on this right here, and you'll see why. So click the plane. Okay. And in my case, it zoomed it way out and took away my handle. So I got to zoom back in so I can see what I'm doing. And under here, I want to draw a line across that diameter. Okay. First, I'm going to start with a semicircle. Okay. And in order to do this, I want to make a full-size half-inch circle. So I'm going to start with the circle tool. I'm going to start right where the origin of this axis and the bottom of the top is. Bottom of the top. That sounds weird to say, but this is the top of our cowbell. So right here, we want to start with a circle. Okay, and we want that circle to be 0.5, so half of an inch. All right, and then click OK. or click enter on your keyboard. Now you'll notice that we're drawing it on that plane, which is what we want. All right. And so the circle kind of goes up through the top. We're going to fix that in a second. So once you've got your circle made, go to your line tool and draw a line from the edge of the circle right there all the way across to the other edge. Okay. And now we're going to do some deleting. So go ahead and click the trim tool. We're going to trim that top part of the arc off. Oops, I did too much. Let me undo that. All right, undo. All right, trim tool. All right, I want to trim that, and I want to trim this line here. Okay, so now I just have this semicircle underneath. And if I kind of zoom back out, I can see that now that semicircle is gone from the top. It's just on the bottom. And then we're going to use this to create a sweep. Okay, so we do want a circle that's flat against the bottom of this top part here. And in order to do that, we have to get off of that construction plane. So we do need to finish the sketch, okay? And give it a second to clear things up. I can go to isometric. And then I want to start a new sketch, but this time when I start the new sketch, I'm going to zoom in, I'm going to turn, and I'm going to tell it that I want the sketch on the bottom of the top section here. So hit the bottom. Now I'm flat against it. Okay, so now I can zoom in. I can take my circle tool, and I just want to, you really could choose either side, but I'm going to choose this side. I'm going to draw a circle out, and that circle is going to be at 0.125. So it intersects at the end of that curve we made, or that semicircle, 0.125, and hit enter, and then finish sketch. Okay. And I'm going to turn this way a little bit. And you can see now I have everything I need to make a sweep. You know that from the paperclip video. Okay. So let's go ahead to the create a sweep. Okay. Right here. We need to choose a profile, which is going to be this. And we need to choose a path. So select path and then choose that path, and it's simply going to make that sweep. Now you'll notice it's red. We don't want that. That's because this is set to cut. We need to change that and change it to join. Okay, and what it's going to do is make a sweep that has joined the top body of our design. Okay, so go ahead and click OK, and you'll notice that we now have basically what's a hook underneath there. It's a lot of work to get a hook, but it's perfectly designed, and we can continue from there. Okay, so now we want to use a different plane because we want our next hook to be opposing this one. So let's go to our isometric view in a little bit. Let's go to construct a plane. We're going to do a plane at angle again. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and choose a line. Let's choose this line here. And notice that it makes another plane just like the one we did before. We don't want that. We actually want the angle to be opposite of that or perpendicular to it. So I can turn it till I get to 90 degrees, but I could also type in 90 degrees. Either way works. Click OK. And then from that plane, we are going to sketch onto it. So create sketch, choose that plane we just made. Okay, and you're going to have to pan back down to see what you're doing. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, and you'll notice that I have kind of grids under here. If you don't have those grids, just kind of try to estimate where we're going to do this. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a circle just below this hoop. So go to the circle tool, and I'm going to start like right here. Okay, don't go too far because then it won't actually loop through here. So I'm going to go about here. It's maybe, I don't know, just a short distance down from your other hoop. Click once, move your mouse out, and you'll see that if I do a 1/2 inch circle, that's going to go right through the hoop. That's what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 0.5 and enter. And next I'm going to hit finish sketch. Okay, so now I need to go back to my original plane, which is, I know this is going back and forth, but this is how it works. So I'm going to go to isometric. I'm going to go, see, now I have two planes. I have this one and I have the latest one. I want to go back to the original one I made. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch on that original plane. And now that I've got that other circle, you can see the other circle going there. I need to create a sketch that will sweep around. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new sketch. I already did that, but I'm going to go ahead and create a new circle. And this time I want that circle to be, I need to move this a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead and put that circle right here on the bottom of that other sweep. Okay. So click there, move out, and let's make that new circle 0.125. Okay. And then hit finish sketch. So now I have, again, everything I need in order to sweep a circle around a path. So go ahead to the create sweep tool, and I'm going to choose the circle as my profile and select path. And I'm going to choose this bigger circle as my path. And if you select that, you can see it's now created a ring around it. Now, this is important. Make sure that you choose new body, okay? Because this is a new section. This is going to be part of our chime, okay? So once it's set to new body, go ahead and click OK. And we should see a new body pop up over here, which we do. Let's right click on it, choose rename, and let's call this chime. Okay. And we're really making progress here. So let's do a new sketch. Now, in order to do the new sketch, I want it to be on the bottom of this new hoop. All right. But I want the sketch to be parallel with this top plane. So in order to do that, I'm going to create yet another construction plane. This one's new completely for us. So let's go to construct, and we're going to do an offset plane. Okay, so it's one plane offset from another one. It's actually pretty easy to do. So go ahead and click this plane, and it wants to know how far you want to offset it. So I'm actually going to offset at a specific distance. Let's offset it. Let's see. I'm a little. All right. Let's go. Let's go down like this, and just kind of drag it down till it looks to be about where we want it. That's about where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and select my offset at 1/2 inch. Okay, so go ahead and do that. Click enter. And now we've got an offset plane there. We're now going to use that plane to do yet another construction. So go ahead and create sketch on that offset plane we just made. All right. And if it turns this way, that's great. If it doesn't, make sure you're set to bottom here. And let's do a circle. Okay. We're going to start at the circle here, move it out, and let's change it to 0.25. So it's going to be a little bit larger diameter than the diameter of the hook on there. Okay. So 0.25, hit enter, hit finish sketch. And now we're going to pull this straight down. So go to extrude. We're going to pull it straight. Oop, I made a mistake. Pull this arrow straight down. You'll notice right away it's red. That immediately tells me that it's not in the right form. I want to change the operation from cut to join. Okay. And you can continue to pull it down. We're actually going to pull it down 5 inches. And if we back up, you'll notice that 5 inches is just shy of our initial plane, and that's about where we want it. So again, make sure it's set to join. That means it'll join to our chime body. Click OK. And if we look, we've got a chime handle or chime bar hanging from this hoop, which is looped around this hoop. Okay, so we're almost done. All right, got one more sketch to make. Go ahead and create sketch. We don't need to do any construction planes now. We're going to actually sketch it right on the bottom of this thing. Okay. We're going to do another circle right from the center, move outward. And this time let's do 1/2 inch. So 0.5, enter. Let's go like this a little bit, finish sketch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually extrude this upward instead of downward. So go ahead and extrude. It wants to pull it downward. Let's change that distance upward. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at zero point 0.1. If you don't have negative zero point 0.1, change it to 0.1 and hit enter. And it's made kind of like a little end to our chime that'll hit against the wall of the cowbell. All right, so let's do one more modification. Let's do a fillet, and we're going to choose this edge and this edge, circular edges, and let's change our fillet weight to 0.05. So 0.05, and it makes a nice little rounded fillet on our chime, and click OK. And we're really making progress now. Let's unvisualize the origin because I actually don't need it now. I'm going to unvisualize that axis because I don't need that either. And I am going to revisualize the walls because I'm pretty much done with the cowbell now. So if you look underneath it, you've got everything you need. All right. So we're just about done. I'm going to add a little bit of material to this. So let's go to modify physical material. Okay, I want the whole thing to be made out of metal. Okay, you see, I already had the metal menu open, but click on metal. You can choose whatever you want. There's so many choices here, but I am going to choose bronze. Okay, so let's go with bronze right here. I'm going to simply drag it over, drop it on there. Now I need to drop it onto every body that I have. Okay, so bronze up on the handle, bronze up on the top, and yes, I need to turn it upside down and hit bronze on the chime as well. There we go. Now the entire thing is made of bronze, and that's pretty cool. What else could we do? Let's do some text. So now I'm going to move this over like this, and I'm going to go to my text tool. So create a new sketch. Let's place it on the front here. All right, so now I'm sketching on um, that tapered surface. You notice that I'm even sketching with the work plane like that. That's important because otherwise the sketch would not look right. All right, so let's click right to the front view. Let's go to create text. Okay, and we need to draw kind of a text box here. So I'm going to click and click a second time, and let's type a little bit here. Now I chose for my font, I chose Rockwell Extra Bold. Really what I was looking for, if you drop down, is anything that's pretty bold looking. Like this one would work. Stencil would probably work, and it really kind of depends on the fonts that you have on your computer. But for me, Rockwell Extra Bold looked fine. If you don't have that, choose something else. And for sample text, of course, we're going to type in gotta and then hit enter. Have, enter, more, enter, and then cowbell. Exclamation point. Now you can drag this around wherever you want, but for me it looks good. You'll notice yours might look like this. If it does, simply align center, and then for the vertical line, choose middle. And if it's where you want it to be, make sure your height is changed to 0.5. So if you have something much larger like 1, or if you have something like 0.1 that's too small, change it to 0.5 and click OK. And you'll see we now have text there. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make that text actually stand out. And of course we do that by finishing sketch and then do an extrusion. Okay. And for this extrusion, we are going to put new body in. Unfortunately, that's going to add a huge number of new bodies down here. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm doing that so I can give it a different color than the outside um, of the cowbell. So just go with it. Go with new body. The distance we're going to pull. Well, I'm sorry. Let me undo that. I forgot to select my text. Okay. So I need to, first of all, probably the easiest way to do this is unselect the wall that it made here. So unselect that. Then you can select the text individually. It's a lot easier. So unselect the wall, select the text, and now I can pull the text out a certain distance. In my case, I'm going to go with 0.05, like that. Let me see how that looks. That's plenty. All right, so let's go with 0.05. We're not changing anything else. That looks fine. Again, change this to new body and then click OK. And now we've got that. So yes, it made all these new bodies, one for each letter, which is kind of annoying. But at the same time, if I didn't do it that way, unless someone knows of a different way, I couldn't change it to a different material. And I like having it look different from the bell. So I'm going to go ahead and close the bodies menu just because it's so large. I'm going to close the construction menu because I'm done with those. If you went to sketches, you should, if you're really into this, you really should rename all these. Like, for example, this one, I could rename this to base because that's the base of the whole cowbell. It's just good habit to rename them all. I'm not going to do it for the video just to save some time here, but that's a good habit. So let's, one more thing here, go to modify and physical material. And I need to reopen my menu here. I'm going to go ahead and change these letters to something else. So I'm going to click each one individually. I'm going to do all the first 3 lines. And I'm going to select aluminum for those. Okay. And then for the cowbell part, let me select those. I want something that stands out a little bit. Something like this, maybe adenized. Let's try that. That looks fine. I didn't get that little top of the, oops, I almost did blue. I didn't get the top of the cowbell exclamation point. All right, so we're done. Looks good. Probably should have saved more often, but go ahead and save now. Leave it as user saved. Okay. You've got your cowbell. It's ready to go. Everything works underneath it. It's perfect. And we are done. So I hope you enjoyed this video. These skills can be applied to so many things. Learn how to use your skills. Learn how to design anything you want. You can do it. You just have to take your time. There's always more than one way to design these things. This is just how I did it, but I hope it helps.